Yeah. We gotta do this one for hip hop. Always keeping the culture alive.
Peace, love, and hip hop for life, everybody. It's DJ Ray Rev from the original Breakout Brothers.
It's the Mellow LC. Greetings.
Yo, tonight we starting up this new year. You know, we've been talking. We had a lot of different guests coming on. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Talking about their experience in the game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We had even Mr. Leland Robinson talking about being you know, major part, his family being a major part of the hip hop success.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But we got two brothers here tonight, good friends of mine, and they want to talk to you about their love for hip hop, but also about the hip hop business. Right. You know what I mean? We haven't really dealt to that, to this level yet. So we want to bring that to y'all tonight. So everybody, please put your hands together for my brothers, Mr. John Gilmore and Mr. Duane Harley, y'all.
Yeah.
Peace, y'all. Peace, y'all. Thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome to the Lost Underground. Yeah. So like you said, we've been having, this is our second year, and we've been having a lot of different people come through, giving their experience about hip hop and their love for hip hop and the game. So I know y'all brothers love hip hop. I know y'all love the culture. So can y'all tell us about, what was your background? What was your coming up, and what got you into this, the spirits of hip hop?
Right. Well, I'll start. I was actually thinking about it earlier today.
Right.
And, when we was coming up, it was no hip hop on the radio. Right. It was R&B or whatever, BLS, and whatever the stations were.
Right.
It wasn't no hip hop on the radio.
Right.
And then it came out with Rapper's Delight.
Right.
I think the first recording of Rapper's Delight I had was an 8-track cassette. You remember the 8-track? You remember the 8-track?
Yeah.
8-track popping in.
Right.
And that's really what started it.
Right.
And then even before that, you had the cats with the tapes from the shows around the block or whatever.
Right.
And it was just something new,
Right.
and I guess this was what even before middle school, just before, when this came out, and that's kind of right from it, when I first heard it, that was it. That was the new thing.
Right.
And then it just goes from Sugar Hill Gang on up till right now.
Right.
It's really incredible how we do with the art forms that we create. And it's just, people thought it was going to be short lived. People tried to kill it or whatever.
Right. That's right.
And then it's not just the music. You got the clothes, the style and everything that goes along with it.
Word.
But so that's just this how we grew up.
Word. Now you from Jersey?
Now, I was born.
Go ahead. Go.
I was born in the city, and we moved over here. My family moved over here at a young age.
What part of New York grew up?
From the Bronx.
Yeah,
from the Bronx.
Boogie down. Okay.
Right.
Boogie down, man.
Yeah.
Moved over here I had my family. I had family up in Soundview.
Okay.
Rome Avenue.
Right.
But I can't front too hard. My family, we were in Riverdale.
Okay.
Shout out to Riverdale.
Okay.
So then we moved over to Jersey and Bergen County, Maywood.
Right.
And so that was a whole other thing.
Right.
That's for another show.
Right.
I was over there, but it was all good.
Right.
And so we back then, the sending district was Hackensack, and then I came from Maywood to Hackensack.
Right.
That's another story too. But it's all good, all love.
Mad stories.
Right. Some more of it will come out, but I'll let Duane kind of jump in here.
Yeah, so my background, I'm actually from Teaneck, born and raised Teaneck, New Jersey, but I got a lot of family in Hackensack, over James Street, the Wolf Place, Stanley Place,
Right.
Berry Street. I got family in Inglewood too, so it's like this whole community's really been my home.
Right.
So I got family out there as well. But just like John was saying, I grew up on this genre, hip hop. It was amazing to me when I got into it, listening to it. I had an older brother.
Right.
I have an older brother. He was a DJ.
Okay.
So he always had the tapes of Cats in the Park, you know, Crash Crew, Cold Crush, the Force Some D's. For some D's, right. When they was doing like the jingles from that Burger King and all that, you know what I'm saying? So we was all into that heavy, and like you said, it wasn't on the radio. It was some things that you just had to tape, and you try to record it from friends who had it. Listen to WHBI,
there you go.
You know, the Latin Rascals, you know what I'm saying? Of course, the Awesome Two, and Africa Bambaataa, all that. You know, I used to listen to that, have the radio underneath my pillow before I was going to sleep. I'm like real young, and I'm supposed to be in the bed, but I'm listening to this hip hop because it was on at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. It was hypnotic, man.
It was hypnotic.
It got you. It got
all the time. And then, like, me and my friends, we would like always try to get the most recent joint that came out, right? And I remember vividly when Kool Moe Dee had dropped Go to the Doctor. That's the first time I heard that was on WHBI. And I got that on tape. And I could not wait to run to school and play this record for everybody because I got it. You know what I'm saying? That was like amazing to me.
Fun fact on that.
Right.
You know that was recorded in Teaneck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Right. That's another show. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's good to know, man. That's big. I think, like we was talking.
That other thing, you just remind me how, you know, all the parties that were thrown, you know, in Teaneck Rec, Teaneck High School. You know,
shout out to
you guys, all the,
Right.
you know, the DJs. I mean, that was it. You know, we looked up to you all, you know, and
we appreciate that.
And that just built the whole mystique around it, and you know, this is something new. We at the forefront of it, and you know, just taking you back, just you know, shooting over to Passaic, wherever, and you know, having these parties wherever. Right. It wasn't on the radio.
Right.
Then I forget what year, you know, Red Alert came out with the show. Right. Yeah. And then Chuck Chill Out, and
that was the 80s.
That was the
80s.
But needless to say, the culture was live in Jersey.
And even going back to like elementary school. So I went to school with who was actually one of my best friends at school was Leo O'Brien, which is Guy O'Brien's younger brother. And I'm talking about we were like in 4th grade together. And this is like Rapper's Delight had came out. And I remember I had Rapper's Delight album. It was in a white jacket with a red. It had a red label on it. And I literally wrote every word of the album, like the whole song on the white jacket,
on the jacket,
on the record, the whole record, and I knew it verbatim. And I used to be on the block, and we used to just rap the record like a cappella without anything, and it would be the whole song. And then I remember one time we was going to do a talent show, and we were the Longfellow at the time, and of course Leo was going to be his brother Guy. We had this other dude named Patches. He was going to be Big Bang Hank, and I was going to be Wonder Mike. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely live at a very young age, man. We was really into it.
You went to school with Lee. You went to school with Lee, and Rev went to school with Guy.
Definitely. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, when I think about those days, like you said, the parties and stuff like that, man, we didn't realize how big this thing was going to be. We were just having fun. And now it's a big business. You know what I mean? And so, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, if people would have knew then, their plans would have been different. You know what I mean? Like you know what they could have did, you know, with all that talent and stuff. You know, I remember when we was, like I said, when we was doing the parties and stuff, we wasn't even thinking, because like, you know, before the records even came out, we was doing parties, you know what I mean? And we was, you know, having battles.
You're mixing other, you know, records that's already
we was creating, using break beats and stuff like that. And, you know, and like I said, nobody even thought of making a record. We were just having fun.
It wasn't even imaginable that you know, okay, you could actually make a record, or much less get it played. Okay, because the radio show, let's just be honest, back then, radio stations was not touching it. Right. They didn't want no part of it. God bless Sylvia. She found that outlet. She found that open door and went through it. But other labels, you know, that may have come to little independence or whatever, the radio stations didn't want no part of it. That's why you would go to HBI.
That's what you had to. You had no choice. Because the reality is, I listened to BLS. And at the time, the cat was on BLS, Frankie Crocker.
Frankie Crocker, he wasn't having it.
Yeah, he said, it's ghetto music, I'm not playing it. But you know what? He actually started playing it because he had to.
He had to,
because that's hip-hop was so big.
That's right.
You know, but everybody, but that's like all our music, though, really, because you say, like, yeah, we didn't have the foresight, but remember, we also did rock and roll, we did jazz, all that blew up without us, right? Even though we started that, right? So this is just another you know, cycle in that. Only because, not because we didn't necessarily have the foresight, is the opportunity to have to build that infrastructure. Because let's face it, we black, right? They're not giving black people no ends, right? So they're gonna want to like take our creation and then exclude us, but benefit from it, and that's all they've been doing with the music today.
I'm glad you brought that up. Rock, like you just mentioned, rock and roll.
Right.
Okay. And you think about that. Rock and roll, you know, I mean, we know that they say that the inventor of rock and roll could have either been Chuck Berry, Little Richard, or Fats Domino. Okay. But when it came out, they turned around and said it was Jerry Lee Lewis or Elvis Presley. Right. You know, but those records that were played, the families, the older people, the older generation said, okay, you can play Elvis, you can play Jerry Lee Lewis. You gonna play Little Richard? That's the version that the kids wanted to hear. But because they were black, wasn't gonna happen.
Even though black writers wrote for Elvis, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know, he stole black music.
He did.
Hound Dog and stuff.
He did.
But we could have stayed in rock, I think, a little bit more. But remember, we had other things going on too.
Absolutely.
So when things started happening, like when Civil Rights Movement came out, we were thinking about something different. Because rock and roll was really for coming of age kids, right? Hot cars, girls, and all that, right? When they were doing it, but we were coming up thinking of something deeper, because at the time we was going through, we was getting, let's face it, you know, oppressed like crazy out here in the streets. So we was coming out, we had to think about something more meaningful, right?
That's true.
So that's why we just kind of let them go.
Exactly.
But that's our music.
Right. You think about like stuff like what Sam Cooke was saying, you know what I mean? Change gonna come.
So that's what we needed, that inspiration, right?
Marvin Gaye, what's going on? And that took off. And that's probably how the inception of hip hop, because we needed that inspiration. Because there
was a void that was there that wasn't being filled. Because it was disco era at the time. Right? So we didn't have money to go into the clubs, right? We didn't have, nobody was really talking to us. We wasn't getting all dressed up like the young folks, right? So then there was a avenue that spoke to us, and we saw ourselves in it, right? And it was really talking about how we like to get down, and we related to it, right? And everybody that was involved in that area, whether you danced, whether you were a bomber, whether you was a rapper, DJ, we all had a commonality in that type of music. Because you couldn't really be a graffiti artist in disco, right? So somebody's being left out, right? But hip hop invited all our sessions, right? So that's why we was able to kind of really, everybody get in. We was on the one accord with that.
Right. No doubt.
Absolutely.
I think about, you know, the earlier cats that was doing poetry, like the Last Poets and
Leroy Jones, right?
Yes, Leroy Jones. Yes.
Bob Baraka's father.
No doubt. Big up to that, man.
Yes, absolutely.
And Gil Scott Heron. You know what I mean? I think that was part of that whole thing, because they was, like you said, going through that whole 60s, 70s thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And Revolution would not be televised. I think that was like part of the beginning too. That spearhead, you know, what we call hip hop now. Too.
Absolutely.
Because
we needed a voice out there, and we were speaking for us, and then it started getting really, really intense. Because we were talking about, a lot of people say gangster rap came out later, which I guess if you want to call it that, but we were actually talking about some crime stuff in the street back in the day too, right?
You think, you know, the it might not have been as raw as NW or the gangster rap, but the message was telling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
About real
Oh,
life
yeah,
stories.
no doubt.
If you
That's
listen to
real.
what Mel was saying,
Absolutely.
broken glass everywhere. People listen on the station and just don't care.
Right.
You telling it.
Then he committed suicide in the jail at the end of the record, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it was like the
right.
whole spectrum. Like
Right,
you
right,
lived
right,
this
right.
certain life, but
That's
then you
right.
you took your own life.
That's right. You took your own life.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was
You know.
that's probably one of the greatest records ever
Yeah.
made.
Oh,
it's
please.
dope, man.
And that, sometimes you wonder, it's like, yo, do you realize, you realize what you put. You don't never have to say another word if you don't want to. Okay?
Right.
Somebody need to make Melly Mel understand. Bruh, you said it all.
Right.
You said it all.
Right.
Okay? You can sit back in your easy chair and relax.
Right.
Right.
And what year
You
was
good.
that? Now that was
That was the early 80s.
Early 80s, right?
Early 80s.
That came out.
Yeah.
They had already had what? Three
Super Rhyming.
Super Rhyming. They had Nasty.
That was
they
my
had
joint, Super Rhyming, by the way.
Super Rhyming was dope. Yeah.
They had
that was on Enjoy at
They
that
was
time.
on Enjoy then.
And then what was
They
the
did
first song?
Freedom
was on
Freedom, yeah.
Sugar Hill.
Yeah, rest in peace to
Yeah,
Cowboys.
because everything was. Everything was like partying because that's where we came from, partying.
Right,
so
right,
the early songs was about partying.
Was partying.
But when they came with the message, man, it just was just something totally different.
That's
bro.
right. He came even harder, believe it or not. He came even harder, but they didn't promote it. Was the song he did for Beat Street. When you listen to the rhymes that he kicked on that Beat Street movie,
Right.
yo, he was talking about some of the prime minister over in the other countries and what was going over there.
Yeah.
I mean, Mel was going off.
Yeah.
That was our news. That was, you
Right,
know what I mean? That's
right,
when we
right.
got the street
It was.
news.
Right,
And even
right.
the world news.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
we talk about, we jumping ahead a little bit, but edutainment and
Oh,
the
yeah.
Afrocentric
Oh,
movement and
yeah.
all that,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
hip hop.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
Right.
I mean, I could almost say, I didn't know what I wanted to do necessarily when I came out of high school or undergrad or whatever. But some of that, some of the music that you listen to and some of the things that they were saying, and I sometimes say I learn more just listening to edutainment and the Afro. You know what I mean? I was like, you know what? I'm going to law school. I can't rap. You know what I'm saying? But I can think and I can do. But yeah, it's like the movement was real, like, and it touched a lot of people that way.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That was the thing, man. The creativity just kept growing.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like you said, you had Mel in the beginning, and then it just you start getting other cats that kept the party part going, but starting to talk more about what was happening in the streets, what was happening in our lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what I think drew more people in it.
Yeah,
Like when you go to a Public Enemy concert, it was crazy.
KRS.
And the amount of white
There'd be
people
a lot of white people in there, right?
that was coming to see it.
They were coming from because of the energy it gave too.
Right.
I don't think they really resonated what it meant to us.
Right.
When we were saying too
Right.
black,
Right.
too
Right.
strong.
Right.
Because I remember I was down in I think my freshman year at Hampton. I think this was 88. I was down at Virginia Beach, and that's when they had that riot out there at Virginia Beach. But how that really popped off was that there was a lot of people out there and people was in the street. And then Break for Love I think came out. People a Jeep turned on Break for Love. People just started dancing, going crazy in the street.
Right.
A lot of people, like the cops, white people, was like, "What the hell's going on?" They probably thought it was a riot going on. Black people were actually having a good time.
Right,
So they
right.
made everybody get off the street and get on the sidewalk. But it was too many people to really be on the sidewalk, right? But then everybody on one side was like too black, the other side too strong. Too black, too strong. See, that's how it resonated with us. White people was like, "What the hell is going on here?" Like they didn't understand that. Right.
To what?
So
What they talking about?
So that I think that it spoke to us in a different way. It wasn't really just entertainment. It was a life, a lifestyle, a way of life. It was really in us. It was innate in us. It like spoke to our soul where it was like when they came out, anything happened, we responded appropriately. Whatever that may be. Right? And I think that's the difference, as it can still today. If people really want to resonate it that way.
Right. Definitely. I like the fact that, you know, over the years you had a choice, you know, too. Like, man, that's what kept your mind into it, you know what I mean, kept you, you know, loving it, because you had over here, you had you know, Tribe Called Quest. You had you know, Nas, you had, you know, so you had
De La Soul.
De La Soul, you know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah, whole different vibe. But you know, but at that time, like you saying, when they was really raising the consciousness, you know, you had so many Arrested Development, you know what I mean? Poor Righteous Teachers,
right, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Brand Nubian.
Yeah, Brand Nubian. Yeah,
What?
yeah. It was such a strong movement. You know what I mean? It's almost seemed like at one point they try to put a hold on it. You know what I mean? Or they did.
Come on, they did. I mean,
You said you want to talk about the business of hip hop. You know, that's the you know, right there. You know, I mean, the transition from, you know, where it started,
Right.
and then it caught on, started, and then it started making money, and then it drew the attention of the money people. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of, you know, got twisted and turned in all kinds of different ways.
Do you agree that they went, you know, they at once money got involved? Because, you know, when it was just a street culture, you know, you make a couple of dollars here and there. But once that money elevated, you know, now all of a sudden they say, okay, well, we found a way to get in the door. We found a way, we're going to put some money out here. But we're going to tell you what you can and cannot say. And you want to do this, you're going to do it this way and that way.
Right.
And because you put your money on the table and say, oh, I got to do this.
Right.
Who's letting the artist be the artist? You
And
know?
that's right.
I think
you got to have that integrity. Because I think really the scary part wasn't necessarily the money. I think the fact it was the unity that the music was given. And I think that's more potent than them giving us money. Once we had unity and consciousness, right, that's the problem. Because then that means we're going to want to own our own masters, right? That means we're going to want to own companies, right? That means we want to do all these things, right? You can have all the money, but without the consciousness, you still doing what they want you to do,
Exactly.
So, but they broke up the unity. But our artists don't necessarily have the you know, the integrity today to say, you know what, I want to do it this way. They're going to capitulate because they want to get paid, right? They want to act like they're rich when half of them today aren't really necessarily making the money. They may get a nice advance, but people got to realize that advance is a loan. You got to pay that back. You got to pay that back.
Talk about it.
Right? So that means you're not really making the money. They gave you some dollars that you got to make back. So a lot of people are in deals. They can never get out because they never made the money back.
Say that again. Explain that even deeper, because I know everybody here understands it, but maybe there's people that's why.
Explain that.
Well, it's called recoupment, right? It's an advance. I know a lot of people want to have a big advance when they do a record deal or a pub deal or admin deal, whatever it is. You get a lot of money up front, let's say. But that money you get up front, you're gonna have to earn that same amount back, and that's so really all you accountants out there, you know, that's not profit, right? Because you didn't make anything over that you borrowed, right? So you're still at zero, right? At that point, when you made all that money back, you're still at zero. You're not even at an asset yet. And that could take, depending on your work ethic, that's another thing. Back in the day, LL, I remember LL Cool J saying he would go to a barn and down south to do a show.
That's right.
We don't know what these kids will want to do now to go really put in that work.
Because that show money is not necessarily recoupable, right? Unless it's in the deal. But
that's your money generally.
That's your money.
But at the end, technically, but at the end of the day, you know, you got to do a lot of shows to make the type of money back. You know, and rappers at the time going up, rappers had to pay higher insurance, right? This is how they get you down, right? Because a pop act money is differently administered than a rap act, right? So that's why you see a lot of shows out there, at least when we was coming up, I guess 90s, early 2000s, rap acts would have 5, 6 groups on it. Right. The insurance is high. Right, everybody gotta put in to get that right. You can't just come out. It's only you. Right. You gotta have people to help, spread that cost around. Right. And then we probably we're not getting the big arenas either. Even if we could have packed the giant stadium, we could do that. Market it right, put together. We'll have to go to the 30,000 or 20,000 seat the Madison Square Gardens. You know what I'm saying? We weren't, that type of thing. Only certain acts down the road would get the stadiums. The Jay-Z will get one. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Dr. Dre, right? But we'll have to go see, I guess, Tribe Called Quest. Maybe at a club,
right, true.
Maybe true. Carnegie Hall or something. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how that go. But the money is always a little different when it comes to hip hop, right? So the advances is not the same. All of it is different, right? And then a lot of the money you actually make are from shows, right? So if we're not at these big venues, how can we really start putting money aside for our generations down the road? We depended too much on an advance that we got to pay back that we don't really have, right? We got to hit the streets, get on the road, and that's how you really get your money.
Now, since you brought it up, let me ask you this. You brought it up a little while ago, and I wanted to elaborate on it. Masters. And I'm asking you guys about masters because that's part of it. But now, I don't know if you've seen it recently, Salt and Pepper are going through legal things about this, and basically they dismissed the case. Okay. Now, can you elaborate on how artists tries to make the connection with the masters, but a lot of people aren't able to own their own masters because that's how the record company makes their money.
Right.
With the masters. So can you elaborate on
that? Masters is like a huge income stream. And the music business is multiple income streams, one of which is owning masters. And I think that's what Ray Charles had done, right? That's what Sam Cooke has done, right? Prince always was really ahead of that. Like, you got to own your masters. And I think that's way, if you own your masters, you can have a way to earn money almost perpetually because you can license that masters to other entities that may use that music, right? But the reality is when you do a deal, that's part of what the record label have in their contract. They're going to own the masters. Why? Because they're putting up the money to make the master. They're putting up the money and all the stuff. You want a deal? All right, we'll pay for you to create that master, right? But we're going to own it because we gave you the money. But the reality is, and this is what they don't talk about, once you recoup that money, now shouldn't you own the master? But that doesn't happen, right? They still keep it. So that's the trickery, right?
But how would they determine when you get to the point where you say, okay, you recouped it, now we want our masters? How do you, what number?
Well, at the end of the day, you get an accounting. So whatever it counts, how much you recoup, because that's when you start getting your royalties from actual sales, right? So at that point, but in your deal, hopefully maybe you can get a reversion if you can negotiate that. But there's also a statutory right. You get your masters automatically back after 35 years. Right? Okay. A lot, it's called, when you license the record under the copyright law, you get an automatic reversion after 35 years of ownership. But the only way with that, it doesn't automatically happen. You have to, at a certain window, request it. And if you don't request it within that certain window, you lose it. So I'm saying
35 years later.
That's 35 years later.
So if it's not, let's say in the beginning when you sign with a label or whatever, and it's not in that contract, you can't ask for it.
Well, you can always ask for it because the statute, it's a federal law that they have to revert it back. But you got to give them notice that you are planning to ask for it. If you don't give them that notice, now they have it forever.
Right.
And that's why, just to go back to the beginning, with a record contract, right? The artist is being contracted as a exclusive recording artist, right? So they're selling their services as an artist on that record, right? And the record company is buying that service, and so that's why they own everything, and they're paying you. You're getting paid a royalty, right? But if it was going to work fair, they put up the money up front, do all of that stuff, and start paying you your royalty from day one without no recoup. But they recoup all that money they put out. They got to earn it back before you get $1.
I figured
that's where people get lost.
Any label, like most of the labels, like we spoke, as Rev said about with Leland. He spoke about some of the artists, that were little hot because they said, "Oh, well, you didn't give us this, you didn't give us that," and he broke it down. He said, "Look, how many joints did you sell? How good did your song do?"
And you think about it, I don't mean to cut you off, bro. Yeah, what he also said, like at that time, you think about the early 12 inches, how much we was paying for them? They was like $2, $3 for a 12 inch. How much money was, after, like you said, the record company get their cut, how much is really left for you anyway? And if you're only selling in New York, or, like a maybe
a local hit,
that's the point it is, right? Yeah, that's it. You also got to think about, where you selling your how you exploiting your music, and where you exploiting it, right? Because and everything that you do that the record label does for you is recoupable. So not just making the record, photo shoots, wardrobe, food, travel, lodging, all that money is being tackled up, and the next thing you know, the bill comes, they could take it off top, and then left you. And if you're in a group, now you got to split that.
That they gave you that you went out and spent.
That you went out and spent. Not thinking that.
That's gotta come back. Right. Plus all the other money they spent.
So you gotta be strategic when you do these deals. Sometimes if you don't, I guess if you need it, because some people out here need the money, right? So you don't get the biggest advance they want. But if you can hustle a little something, maybe get a lower advance, get a bigger ownership of on the back end.
Right.
And that's what started to happen, as the business matured. Artists started talking about it. They started rapping about it.
That's right.
And the structure of the deal started to change. And then even now, where you have streaming, and
I was going to ask about that.
Promote yourself, and that changed.
That's another hustle.
Right. Because you ain't making no money.
Well, it's like how it works is, you as an artist don't necessarily know how much money is coming in on the stream, because how they calculate it is you get it's prorated, right? So the artist, everyone on the label, let's say one label, right? You got like 10 artists, let's say, hypothetically. Money come in, it's split up based on the amount of streams each artist have is prorated.
Okay.
So if one artist gets 60% streams, they get 60% of that money to come in. Right. But we don't really know exactly what that is. They just know what your percentage of that stream should be, just generally. Right. But then what does that really represent in real dollars? And then how it, especially if it's like radio play or streaming on certain things, if everyone was doing Beyonce, she getting all the money, right? Like how the young people breaking in on that level? They're not.
True.
So you got to have a strategy and to think about it. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of people is coming out of record deals so they could do other things, because record is just a name recognition, branding. You know what I'm saying? So there goes the integrity of the actual music. I'm just trying to do this so I can do this, so I can do that. But we're not in it because we got the love for the music. Exactly. Because I remember like back in the day, like literally we'll go to some clubs in the city. You almost be risking your life to do that. But that's the love for the music. They're not doing that now.
Absolutely.
True.
Now what about, is there a difference between, let's say, if an attorney or lawyer represents contracts and things like that, what happens when the artist, let's say he goes out and he has a little difficulty someplace and he has to be bailed out or whatever, because some of these guys wild out.
Use real life examples.
And a lot of, cause I was thinking about like what Bobby Shmurda went through, and he had a big record and whatnot, whatever. I guess they were recouping what they put in, but when it happened, did they want to go and pay the bail money to get him this and get him that? Same thing with Tupac, rest in peace. It took Suge Knight to do it because his record company wouldn't put up the money. They couldn't get him out.
Well, that's the thing. They want to, the record labels, and you can see it with DJ Drama. Y'all remember when DJ Drama the mixtape?
DJ Drama. Yes.
Right, because look, for an example of that, when DJ Drama had the mixtape and putting it out there, and a lot of the artists was getting promotion from those mixtapes, doing very well. The record labels are on board. They're the ones who actually help promoting it and marketing it and letting them do it and all that. But when the feds came down, they were like, "Whoa, we ain't got nothing to do with that." So, they was trying to bring RICO charges on them for mixtapes. And the record labels didn't step up to protect them and say, you know what? No, we allowed him to put these records on those tapes. But so they would be down when they, to be gangster when they can hide in the back. But when it's time for the gangsters to really step up in front and take accountability, they ain't got nothing to do with it. And you see that time and time again. So that's your example. When you're getting arrested and you looking for bail, not too many labels going to say, yeah, we got you.
Exactly. Not too many. Even though you're making, I guess you're making a certain amount of money, but if you got one hit, they gonna back. I mean, if you're a money maker, they might think about saying, okay, well, maybe we get them out.
Think about it, because remember, a lot of these labels now have shareholders. Right? They're not individual. One guy saying, you could do it because I said it. They have to account to shareholders. And if they do things that's not copacetic with them, it trickles down. So it's a whole different game that we're in, right? We no longer independent so-called record labels where the head person in charge makes all the calls. The head person in charge still has to answer to a whole board in many instances.
Wow, that is.
Duane, talk a little bit about because another progression is the deals, the label deals that like a Puffy with, like Bad Boy was a label deal under Alistair, and Death Row was under. How did those work, and how do you think that changed anything, if it did, as far as ownership and the artist's right to kind of make the music that they want to make?
Yeah, well, I don't know any particular deals like the Bad Boy deal, so I can't really talk about that specifically because I don't really know those terms and things like that. But just the whole concept is really not a new concept, really, right? Because you think about the cast from Philadelphia, right?
Talking about Philadelphia International.
Philadelphia International, right? And I think they were actually signed. Clive Davis, I think, put them on, right? And how it happens? That was a production company, right? And they signed all these black artists from Philly, whatever it was, right? You know what I'm saying?
Gambling.
Remember, they had their own production company. That's where the Bad Boys and the Rockefellers, they all did that, right? What happens is that allowed the record labels to get rid of the black music department in the label. Why do we need a black music department when we got y'all? Right. So that kind of replaced jobs, right? Inside the building, right? We're gonna hire you guys to go get the acts, and then when you get the acts, they're gonna be literally signed to us. Because that's the gangster part, right? That's the gangster.
I'm glad you said that. That's how they explain how Wu-Tang had 9 members, but they were on 4 or 5 different labels.
But they were smart to do that.
And they said it was smart. RZA didn't have them on. They were on one label as Wu-Tang. But when you came to Old Dirty, Meth, Raekwon, they all had separate labels.
Separate deals.
Separate deals. And they pulled it off.
They did it because before they did their deal, though, they had a hot record in the street. They had leverage. People wanted a piece of what was happening because it was an hysteria when that record came out. It was so crazy. They didn't care. They just wanted a piece of the Wu-Tang, no matter what it was. So they would, because most deals, if you're like in a group or not, will say, if you're in the group or you leave the group, the group is signed to us too. But obviously they didn't have it that way in those situations.
Yeah, that was really smart. I'm trying to think of any other hip hop. Dipset did something like that also?
Yeah, with Koch.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, Koch, I think they were notorious for like doing like I guess being creative with artists and kind of let them be independent and let them rock. Right, but I don't think they was giving you the money. I think the type of money you would want to get out there. It's kind of on you. Dipset had definitely a big following. People loved them in the street. They was able to rock out because who they were.
Right.
A lot of people won't be able to get that.
Right.
You know, if you just coming in and want to break into the game, you know what I mean? You might need a more of an engine behind you. So that's the choice you got to make. Right.
True.
Well, I think NWA didn't NWA do that as well with Q, Easy, and Dre, because they were on Priority. Then they broke away, and Easy was went somewhere else. Dre went somewhere else, and they had like three different label deals. You know, everybody broke into a separate thing. Ren, all of them had different deals. And you know, it's amazing to see. It's like, okay, we got this hot record and whatnot. Okay, I can go run over there. You know, they want me, I'm gonna go run over there. But why is nobody thinking about protecting themselves in the long run? You see what I'm saying? You don't think about the long. I mean, you're thinking about the right now. Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to have this big house, all these cars that are swinging, all that. But are you thinking about what happens when that dries up? Because you only get 15 minutes of fame.
What was the line that Andre 2000 said about you only as good as your last?
Your last hit. Is it not the truth? You're only as good as your last hit.
Right, but you know, I guess when you in the moment and things is happening for you, some people are not thinking later on in the game, long term. You know what I mean? So I
mean, you got to remember, a lot of these artists early on are young when they, you know,
exactly.
They fresh out of wherever,
right?
They see this money put in front of them, and whether or not they have somebody in their ear that's telling them the right thing or what they should be thinking about, you don't know.
That's my question. Who is there? Who would you say? Okay, who is there to guide a young artist that does not know the business, okay? And he's saying, well, okay, they want me or whatever and whatnot. Who do I speak to?
The lawyer.
Right. The lawyer. But then they say, well, we don't have the money to, we got to pay this guy, to help us be on the right. And a lot of the record companies frown. It's like, no, we gonna take care of you. Having you believe they're gonna take care of you and whatnot. When you say, oh, I'm gonna have a lawyer go look at this contract. No, you don't have to. They get scared,
Right. Yeah,
they get scared. We seen it ourselves,
and that's what I think that artists are going to have to step up, right? It's your life, right? You got to start making bold decisions, right? You can't just bow down, right? So if you hustling on the block, you gonna let somebody walk up on your block and dictate how you gonna sell your stuff, right? I mean, why is that mentality not the same when you're dealing in the music business, right? The mentality got to be like, all right, at the very least, I need to make sure I'm protected. And the best way to do it, if you're scared about the money, you're gonna pay one way or the other, right? Obviously, many times you can always have a conversation with an attorney. They may work some things out, because usually people get their money off the deals too, so it's not really out of your pocket. So there's always ways to make sure you're good, right? And because trust me, if you're making the wrong decisions and you're screwed, you're gonna be screwed by yourself, because now you can't pay nobody because you don't have no money coming in. Now you want people to help you after you failed, to protect yourself by just giving someone to look at in the beginning. Right.
True.
Do you think that this would also happen, in your opinion? Now you see what's going on in hip hop. Now that hip hop has grown so much that the law, attorneys and lawyers have got involved. Do you think that's going on like in heavy metal, rock and roll, in the other genres? That is it that deep with that? Because look, I mean, think about R&B, with the Bobby Browns and Chris Browns and all that, and R. Kelly and all that. You got to deal with that too.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
Do you think
good
the
question.
other genres are?
I think so. I think it's everywhere. But see, just like in black, when it's dealing with black people, we don't really have safeguards to when it happens to us. It just messes us up. Period. We're dead in the water. When it happens to somebody in the rock genre, or
they got somebody they can fall.
Exactly.
Or they go do shows live and get paid, or they got another underground.
Right. And somebody in that heavy metal band, one of their uncles is a lawyer.
Yo, give it up for that. Yes.
That's the difference.
Right.
Or the executive at the label.
Right. They know somebody already.
They got the lawyer, they got the accountant, they got the executive. They in their garage, doing their thing, and we want to make a deal.
But they also have a lot. I won't say they, but a lot of times in those other genres,
resources.
They have integrity in the music, right? So they're going to just die on the vine, right? They're going to be out there making it happen, right? These rappers today, if you can't make a beat, all you got is rapping, how am I gonna make a song? You know what I'm saying? Because where's the integrity at? Where I'm gonna, no matter what, I'm gonna make this happen. Because either way, you're gonna still be out there if this is meant for you to do it. Right. If you really love what you're doing, you love the genre, don't matter what happens to you still gonna make music. Right. Bottom line, if anything comes in front of that, you don't really love the music.
That is true. That is very true.
Wow.
People don't know that. They never even learn that. And we wish ourselves, the Reb and myself, because when we had an opportunity, a couple of opportunities, but one that comes to mind is our panoramic deal that we had. We were
Ray Goodman and Brown had a label here.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted Hackensack, matter of fact, on Main Street. And
they wanted to sign us.
Yeah, and we was young, and Star Child was our DJ.
Right.
Rest in peace,
my dude. We miss you.
He let his brother read the contract.
Star Child, bro.
His older brother. And he was like, nah, bro, this ain't no good. At that time, I don't think in the early days, I don't think anybody really had a good deal.
Right. Well, that is part of it. The first Duane will tell you that first deal is not going to be artist friendly.
Please make that clear.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
Now.
I mean, there's certain things that you can negotiate, but there's certain things that you're gonna have to live with, and then you're gonna have to be a hit and make and then you can even there's one industry, which is the music industry, where you can have a contract, and actually go in and renegotiate your contract. Like that's a thing, right? I mean, do you agree, or there's certain
you can go back
before it's term you can go back and try to renegotiate.
You could do that. It was like back in the day, like that was more prevalent. Now it's kind of like you kind of in there, but the thing is, you can but you got to be like doing well, right? You got to make sure that you're outperforming the anticipation of your deal, and you got to have a good relationship in the building, right? Everything's relationship. So if people don't like you, it's going to be hard for you to go back and negotiate those terms, no matter what you're doing, right?
Cussing everybody out,
And nowadays, again, now I'm saying it could be harder because it's boards now. It's not just a guy making that decision. So how is that helping your company if you're allowing these guys to renegotiate a deal that's favorable for you, and now you're taking less money? How's that make sense to the shareholders, right? So that's not necessarily, I don't think they're really doing it as much as they do, but reality, and also different avenues to get paid, right? It's not just record royalties. If you're depending on record royalties for money,
forget it.
You're done.
Oh, that's it. We know that.
Right.
You're done. Forget it.
Right. So you got to have other ways.
Half a penny. Whoever heard of that? I mean, I didn't even consider. I heard someone say that. I forget whether it was Left Eye or was watching the TLC thing. And I keep resorting back to that because that one, when she told that story and she ran it down, said a half a penny. She said, "What am I going to do with a half a penny?" And they had hits, Waterfalls, all of that, and even with that, they still didn't clear.
But remember,
it was amazing.
Makeup, wardrobe,
like
they had power.
You got to think about that waterfall video out there in that water. That costs money. Them visuals, but I mean, you would think and hope that it would be a fairer split of the money. The artist doesn't necessarily get to see the label's books. How much money are you really making. You know what really is coming. You get a statement every month or every quarter, and there's a whole lot of big numbers on this side, right? And then zeros on this side.
So it's a lot of big reds out there.
A lot of big reds.
But I would think, not to cut you off, but I would think though, lawyers just need to explain these terms to their clients. I think that's really at the end of the day. Because if you know what you're getting involved in, then it's not a secret. It's there in the paperwork.
Right. But if nobody can read it and understand it, then they'll be lost.
But you would think a TLC had that opportunity, right? I'm not, I'm not saying whatever. But the thing is, if someone told you this is what you need to do, and I tell some of my clients who, some of their deals might not be, the leverage could be off, but if they got the work ethic to get through that so they get a better deal, because we're talking about a career. We ain't talking about just this one deal, right? We're talking about a career, so we're talking about 30 years in the game, right? You good. Right. But if you got the work ethic to get through that first deal and to re-up, right. But if you don't have the work ethic, out here putting in music where you really doing it.
Right.
And here's the other thing about the exclusive recording contract math, right? So you have your royalty is whatever rate, whatever it is, that half a penny I offer it's more than half a penny. It might be a 16 cent out of that $2 record or whatever it is, right? And so the label gets the majority of that $2, right? And you're entitled to 20 cent of it, right? You recoup at the 20 cent rate. Like so the way you recoup is the 20 it's not once their $2 equals the amount of money that they gave you. It's when the 20 cents that equals that money.
Equals that money. Equals that money.
And that's the thing. Okay, so some artists, they understand recoup, right? Okay, you recoup, you sell it $2. When you get your money back, then I start getting paid. But they recouping at your royalty rate.
Right. Wow.
I mean,
that's a big difference, right?
That's a big difference.
Think about people talk about. I just throw this out there because everybody was talking about it. Talk about Thriller. I mean, could you only imagine? And he still had to get out there and do what he did. Rest in peace. I mean, Thriller was record breaking, but Epic made their money back. He might have got a little piece of the pie, but I think that him touring and whatnot put him in a better position, because he had all this other, off the wall and all of that, But still, he did, they said there were so many people who got a piece of that pie, even though Thriller hit those numbers.
Yeah, it's a lot of hands in the pot.
I don't know the breakdown, but I'm sure, I don't know, because he probably had a lot of expenses elsewhere.
Yes.
But the record was incredible.
Because some of those videos,
publishing. That's another thing. We talk about money. Like we only talk about royalties. That's only one income stream, right? So you got multiple income streams coming in off one record, right? So not only you have your record royalties for the sale, you have mechanical royalties for the duplication of the record. So every time the record is duplicated, you get a royalty, right?
Okay.
All the time. So that's part of the publishing. And then you got a performance royalty, right? Which will be when the record's played publicly performing, like on the radio or
TV,
or in an arena or something like that. That's another royalty. So there's a lot of different ways that money can add up, right? So and people not necessarily buying your record, so they're not duplicating it the way it should be, right?
True.
So, but if it's being publicly played, you're still getting something that's coming in on that. Right. So you got to look at the whole spectrum. You can't just get caught up on just the record royalty piece.
Right.
I know a friend of ours told us, shout out to Rick Williams, he told us, he said, if your song gets bought, let's say it gets bought or the publishing gets bought by like a commercial on TV, You said that's some heavy
That's
money.
some good money. Yeah.
Very
So
heavy
you get some
money.
great money. I'm doing licensing a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I mean, them things are 6 figures in a lot of places. Just
We
doing
gotta
commercials.
talk, bro.
Yeah. I mean, my clients had hits. The songs that were hits. So a lot of them, that's the way they stay afloat.
Right.
I mean,
Wow.
So movies.
Who's some of the people that you can you say some of the people you work with or you?
Nashim Myrick, he did Who Shot You, so we get a lot of lot of love on that. You know what I'm saying? He did some stuff with he also got stuff with Scarface.
Okay.
So we did The Block.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So we do licensing for that record, especially Back to School. That's kind of big thing.
Right. I did some stuff back in the day, like for MTV, like a couple of the TV shows like Pimp My Ride and a couple other shows like that. Yeah, so that's why I really, man, if I could, I would like to get more into that thing. I grew up like a fan of soundtracks, like with this Curtis Mayfield, Isaac Hayes, that kind of stuff. I was really into that, even before the hip hop thing, man. You know what I mean? Like I always was big on scores. You know what I mean? And and I know music licensing is a big deal, man.
It's another income stream.
Right?
Just something that came to mind when we were talking about the record contracts, and that's the we used to get a lot of questions about 360 deals. Is that still a thing? Even You want? Talk about 360.
That's
deals,
definitely a thing. Well, I guess everything's a case, in my opinion, and a lot of people may disagree, but to me, it's case-by-case scenario, right? Sometimes it can work, right? Because you think about you guys are a partnership, right?
Well, explain what it is.
Well, a 360 deal, 360, right? We're going to get a piece of everything you make all around the spectrum, right?
Including the touring, including the merchandise.
But it can be, because some things you can carve out, though, right? Not everything has to be. 360 don't mean is always going to be everything. That's why you kind of need to go in there and say, all right, we could do this and do that, but you can't have this, right?
Right.
So, but it all depends, because how much money they're giving you up front. Because, we got to also be fair, right? If you're doing a deal and they're giving you $2 million in your pocket right now, and you're gonna tell them you can't have my touring money, you can't share my touring money, but we just give you $2 million. How can we make this money back? Right. So we got to be logical too.
Right.
So what is the commitment they're making to you? Kind of determines what you should negotiate, right? That's why you go to the table with a plan. You can't just go in there thinking, I'm gonna do a deal and not know exactly where you want to be, what you want to get out of it. You gotta have a perspective, an idea before you walk in that room. Because if you don't, you meet. They're eating you up.
But here's the deal, Duane. Let me ask you this. Like you just said, you gotta have a plan when you go into that room. Okay. A lot of these artists out here and whatnot, let's just be honest, they from the hood.
They don't know.
They I'm not saying everybody,
right?
But a lot of the artists you see are from the hood,
right?
And that kind of life they don't know. They just know that they can do what's called for. Right. They can rhyme or whatever, make beats and all that. That's all they know. They didn't go in there and say, okay, I know what this cat's talking about, so I'll know how to negotiate with him. Who's the in between? Because a lot of these cats are from the hood, they don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. The thing is and that's why we also have to grow up. The music growing up, we also got to grow up. You got to you got a team in the street.
Right.
You got to get a team going into these buildings. So not only just a lawyer, you need a manager. You need somebody who's going to also, talk with you too. You don't go in there by yourself. You got to go in there with your team. Right. And a lot of labels respect that heavily. If you're coming in there organized, now they're going to deal with you differently, and they don't understand the type of business, because they don't want to be in a situation where it's just mayhem and crazy. No matter really.
If you come into the meeting behaving the same way you behaving in the video, right? They gonna look at you a different way. But you gotta come in there business like, like you said, they have a strategy. They know what they want.
They know
what I'm saying. So you gotta come in there with your strategy and your team, lawyer, accountant, manager, and because it's business, like we said from the beginning.
What comes to mind? I wondered sometime how like for instance, when ODB's album came out, and he had the food stamp card on the album, and people are like, "Yo, the record company done advanced this man X amount of dollars, and he's still getting food stamps from it's like." What are we supposed to do now, man? It's like, yo, we just gave you $85,000, $90,000, and you got a food stamp card with your picture on it.
That's right.
That you getting food stamps.
But we got to think about the fan base. Is he marketing that too? Because that was a fantastic marketing strategy.
Oh, really?
Because the people that went out and got that record, they didn't get that advance. They probably got on food stamps. And now this record's for us. Right? Let's go and rock this. You know what I'm saying? I love it. And they're the ones that paid the money.
I'm keeping it
I'm still here. Just because you hear me on the radio, I still rock out the way y'all rock out.
No doubt.
Right.
Wow.
It made a splash. It's like, everybody's like, yo, did you see what he did? He's still getting food stamps. That the record company, and he was on a lecture at the time, I believe, they advanced him pretty good.
Well, that's the thing, man. You want to shock people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't think somebody would do that on a label.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he did exactly
what he wanted.
What he wanted. Yeah.
That's one thing
he made
could
you like,
do.
oh, wow, he did that.
That is true.
Yeah.
So when we get, now what we would like for y'all to do is make the young artists, when we're talking to our listeners and people supporting us, make them understand how do you tell them how to go the right way? Because a lot of them, like, we're not really in the vinyl era anymore. It's all a digital era now. So now we're not going, it's no such thing. I'm not saying there's no such thing. I'm sorry. It's really no record companies on block. Like it used to be different record companies. You can go in there and make a record or sign or whatever. Now it's digital. Which direction do a young artist who's 15, 16 or whatever, what direction does he do so he doesn't end up mopping floors at the end of the day? What direction would you advise him to do so that doesn't happen?
Well, he has to educate himself, number one, on the business a little bit. So maybe he should go buy a book, right, called, All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Passman or something, just to get familiar with some of the terminology. Because when you get in these circles, that may come up, and he understands what's going on, right? But then on top of that, I would probably advise him to go and, when you make your music, you start putting it out there, get it protected, copyrighted, whatever you need to do. Start throwing it out there.
Right.
Then you have to start seeing who's listening to your music, right?
Okay.
Who are the fan base, and now you want to connect with them.
Okay.
Right? Get their information somehow. If you got a website and they sign up, make sure you can keep control of their information, because now you're going to start hitting them with stuff, right? So you can grow that fan base, right? Because that's what you need to do. You need to build a fan base, so therefore you have leverage, right? Once you go in to do these deals, you can say, without you, I got all these people checking for me, right? And they're loyal to me right now, right? So you gotta be strategic and like build it up. It'll be small in the beginning, but you never know. You could have a hit, and they see they got a whole bunch of things going on. Get the website popping, make everything on your website. Get the music there. Make sure you get able to get their information, emails, whatever, so you can stay in contact with them. Then these people, when you throw out exclusive stuff, maybe start giving them a little free something.
Yes.
A t-shirt.
Put a team together. Yes.
Some pens or something, whatever it is, to get them feel special.
That's
right.
That's
Let them feel special, that they onto something and they exclusive.
That's
right. But then when you start, then maybe somebody can put you on the show, and then give out 5 free tickets to those people that can come. On the rip.
Right.
You gotta just keep doing that. And it just kind of grow, and then stay integral with your music, but keep working, because the reality is, if you only making a record every couple of months.
Right.
The way this game is, the song is old after a couple of months anyway.
I'm glad you said.
And our people, man, that's the thing, man. With our people, man, you could take like you was talking about rock artists. They might have made an album back in the 70s, and they still can sell out years later. It's our
Rolling
audience
Stones,
that
perfect example.
that don't support all the way to the end.
All the way
you know
to
what I
the
mean?
end.
You know, like we'll support them when they hot,
Right.
and then if they, like, I heard them in like in a few months now, you know, he might have fell off.
But that story's still being written, I think, because rap is still young in a sense.
Right.
In connection with rock and roll, right?
True.
Because we're the age group of rap.
Right.
Right now, right? So, but we'll still go and see some spots, different places.
Oh yeah.
Right. Just that those early artists just probably never got the big banger hits where these rock groups like Rolling Stone had when they were hot. So they're never gonna get the volume of those guys. But let Jay-Z be 75 and they want to hit the road.
You know what
People gonna be coming out, right? People gonna be coming out and selling out for that, right?
But so rock and roll, right? You don't even have to be the band, right? They got in rock and roll, they got a thing called tribute bands. Right?
Yeah,
So you don't even have to be the band, and you can go around and tour as a tribute band, singing the song of another band.
Of another band.
So you think you're gonna see somebody gonna get up there and do a tribute?
That might, because I mean they got that rap and R&B too. You know,
Whispers. I just saw they got
the Temptations.
The Temptations too.
And they still got him.
Yeah, now they're doing Levert. They got a tribute group that's doing Levert now.
Oh, really?
You know, doing tribute to Gerald Levert and Levert. And they're doing that.
Right.
I mean, look at Sugar Hill Gang, right? Ain't none of them.
And then without a doubt, got one holding that together.
Right. I mean, but how many Master G's been there? I mean, Master G's, Wonder Mike's been there.
You couldn't even count them. I mean, you know, you see that with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's really just Mel and Scorp. You know, Lost Cowboy. And I think what's his name? Creole's locked up. And you know, that is just Mel and Scorp.
Right.
Just to go back to the question that you asked about the young artists, and Duane kind of hit on it. Right. But I just wanted to say, like back in the day, somebody at the label or somebody somewhere had to think that the artist had some talent. You had to have some talent, right? And then the label would take you and they had a department that would kind of, you know, help that talent become what it right. Now the record labels, they're not necessarily doing that. Right? They looking at how many followers they want to see your one sheet. They want to see how many followers you got, how many whatever they call all these things, impressions you have on your. And so, as Duane was saying, you really got to kind of market and promote yourself to get that attention. And it's sadly, it's not so much about the talent. It's about how you market and promote yourself.
How do you become? I'm glad y'all said that, because when you that team you was talking about earlier, okay, you want to get out there and you want to do what you need to do, but you can do but so much on your own. You need that team, marketing, A&R, all that. I mean, getting to the DJs, knocking on their door, sleeping on their doorsteps. You got to be pests. And you need a team to do that. Right. And I think a lot of these artists, they some of them might have had it, might not. You know, they in the clubs and whatnot and all that kind of stuff, trying to get these DJs to get your song popping. Right. You know, back to payola. You know, way back to Alan Freed getting paid, you know, to play. I mean, really, payola was crazy, you know, but a lot of DJs kept it under the table. But hey, they gonna make you want to get your record hot. Somebody gonna have to have a couple of this and that. Hey, yo, bro, here, you take that.
Yeah, that's kind of where it's still payola. You think about it, because you think about the records that are being played on the radio. You got like 10 records being played all day, right?
All day.
But you have the advertisers who want to pay for certain times of the day. They're going to advertise their stuff. Okay, who's listening the most at what time, right? They'll say, all right, you know, 2, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 when people in their car.
Coming home.
So we're going to pay for that spot.
Right.
Okay. So that's where certain music get played all the time because they get their money for that spot. So what is that?
Right.
Who even listens to the radio anymore?
I mean,
it's like
a lot of people, truck drivers,
Yeah.
people that's on the highway.
Yeah,
I mean, I know. I mean, I listen to it, but younger people, I don't know that
the younger
they
people.
even.
Yeah, I'm wondering because a lot of
Sirius
their stuff.
XM is just picking up now. You know what I'm saying? They picking up. But that back what you were saying, you got people who wanna, it's like, okay, I gotta get hot. You know what I'm saying? I need that. You know what I'm saying? And what happens, you said that 5 or 6, like coming home from work hour, right? Let's go back a minute. How in the world did people like HBI, how did that, and that was an independent station. They put things together with Scotch tape.
Right. See, we was
WHBI.
but we were starving for the culture back then. We would go to almost any length just to hear hip hop because it wasn't being played on the radio or on
like
regular
that.
station.
You laying in bed with your box next to
With your box, like you said, the radio under the pillow.
Hit that record.
Hit that
record. And it was,
but you had to know there had to be some funds coming from something. It might not have been extravagant, but that radio station had to keep it going, with Ted and Zulu Beats and all of those things.
Like what Ted and them told you. They had to pay to be on the station.
They had to pay, and they paid out of pocket. And they was crying to make sure that check didn't bounce.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they had to put in. That's what he was saying about putting in work. Putting in work. Let me ask y'all something real quick. Ghost Riders. Ghost Riders. Okay? And I go, you probably know where I'm going. How do you feel like, okay, the statute of limitation, let's take from a legal standpoint. We all know that Grandmaster Caz helped Hank with Rapper's Delight. With his line.
He helped him, or he got robbed from it?
He wrote it.
I know, man. He helped him, or did he get robbed from it? Yeah.
He wrote it.
That's right.
Okay,
absolutely.
as simple as it's spelled out.
But,
right.
But, all right, let's take what Leland Robinson said on that. If I give you something, that's yours, right?
That's what as far as
if I wrote a rhyme for you, is that your rhyme?
Yeah,
it's still. I wrote it, but it's still your. I gave it to you.
So not yours.
No, okay, now you gave it to me.
Right.
But
that's the operative word, give. Right? Did he sell it? Did he do it? Was there a contract? Or he gave it?
They didn't know anything. He just said, he said he and Hank were friends. Hank was their manager. And they asked, when Sylvia came and asked him about doing the record, he said, yo, I know you got this book of rhymes. You got any rhymes that I could use? And obviously, Caz didn't think that this was going to do anything, so he gave it to him. Now, okay, he gave it to him. But I think that the right thing still, was to, hey, let's take care of something. Let's take care of that man.
Well, let's analyze it, right? So if when you put something in tangible form, right? You put something down on paper. That's you own a copyright in that work, right?
Right.
So whoever put it down on paper owns that copyright, whether they registered or not, right? Can't tell me if I go
right.
Right? He checked me, but
that's why I say is that right? Even though he gave him the book or he gave him the rhymes, he wrote it. I know they didn't know nothing about copyrights.
Right. So analyze that from a copyright perspective.
From a copyright standpoint, how do you look at that?
Yeah, copyright perspective, right? Anything transfixed in a medium form of expression, that's the language from the statute, is copyrightable, right?
Okay.
In order to so generally, Caz would be the author of that.
Right.
And publishing would still be in him unless there's a writing of him signing it away.
Or off to somebody else.
And if there was no writing, he would still be the copyright owner.
There was no writing. He said there was no. He said
if there's
he
no
didn't
writing,
know nothing about that at the time. They didn't know nothing about copyrights, lawyers, nothing.
Right.
He just said that was his man.
Because at that time, like I said, that was that time. We wasn't thinking about making no records. So we didn't think about records. We didn't think about lawyers and going through that whole, business part of it. You know what I mean? So he's like, the brother said, yo, you got some rhymes. And he probably like, first of all, if I would give somebody one of my rhymes, it's not gonna be something that I would say like, yo, this is something I'm still saying.
Some hot joint.
Yeah, I ain't giving you one of my hot joints.
Right.
I'm giving you something.
I'm gonna give you something.
But that's gonna be like some back burner stuff. It ain't gonna be my
But
my
Kaz
top
always
10.
had everything was hot though. I don't know what
I know what you're saying. I know what you're
Everything
saying.
was hot.
I know, I agree with that. But for man, that's
It's a deep thing, you know, because it's like, okay, bruh, we ain't talking about no mediocre song.
Right.
No,
we're talking about the number one of the biggest major corporate. It gave hip hop to open the door. That's what it is.
Right.
We had like you like super rapper. That was on Enjoy.
That's right.
We like Rapper and Rock the House Funky Four. Boom. Spoonie G, Love Rap.
Right.
That was Enjoy. But that didn't knock down the door.
Right.
Kaz was part of a song that knocked down the door.
True.
Okay?
True.
And even him, I mean, you could have just smacked him on the back of his head and said, "What are you doing?"
But he didn't know.
He didn't know. That's what he said. He didn't know.
He didn't know.
And after all those years, and I know he gotten older, it's like I figured the statute of limitation, he thought it was over, that he could say nothing. Because everybody was banging the door down in Sugar Hill. And
well, I mean, theoretically, I don't know, this is not legal advice or anything like that, but every time you infringe on the copyright, it's a new infringement, right? So theoretically, every time it's played again, but the only thing is, there's an awareness that he knows is out there, and he never did anything about it. So it's almost looking like he acquiesced, at this point. But it's argumentative, you know what I mean?
Right.
So what you're saying is was there a statute of limitation? Or?
Well, there's always a statute of limitation on every infringement, right? But every time it's played again or used again, that's another infringement, so it starts all over again. Right?
Well, but the song was used so many times.
Right. It's still, but the point is,
it's still played a lot.
The argument would be now,
you was on notice. You was on notice.
You on notice, and they didn't do it.
So.
You never said anything. It's now it's looking more like a license that you gave it to him or whatever it is.
And so the way that would be handled now, or even it could have been handled then, was he should have been credited as a writer on the song.
Exactly.
Right. He should have been. When they went into the studio, you do your split sheet, right. Everything, you got your writers and you got your the writers of the music, the writers of the lyrics. It's all broken down.
Right.
That still doesn't happen every time. Now.
But the thing with that song, they use Sheik's music. So
now Rogers got it.
They got paid. They eventually took care of that stuff.
Yes, they did. They protected themselves.
And I think that's like the whole genre, though, of why rap wasn't necessarily serious, though, right? Because there was nobody in the world, I think at the time, that could really help Kaz with that perspective. They didn't take it seriously, right? So he had nobody to go to, nobody to connect with. Because Niles Rodgers, that song was old at that time.
Right.
But they got their stuff together. So there was the concept of copyright for the music, but you know what? We're not going to apply that to rap, though, because it's not serious enough. We're not thinking it's a real thing. Like our stuff is art. Because we even look at Basquiat, right? Basquiat himself, all these beautiful things that we love about the music, the art that he did, when he was in the basement of that white man's house doing it, right? It was like nothing. He just wanted a place to stay, I guess, but they didn't know that this is going to be what it is now, right? But it's like everything that we do turns to like gold because it's immaculate.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly what he had said. He said, I didn't know. He said, I wasn't thinking about it. You know, he's like, yo, it's my man, boom, whatever. Yeah. Let's say the record was garbage. Yeah, what the heck? But here it is, you know, you are going to go down in hip-hop history, no matter what. I don't care if you never made another run. Kaz know he going to be in history because he know, and everybody knows that line, I'm the CAS and the OVA and the rest of stuff, that's him.
Right.
He knows that.
And I think that should be an example of why we as people need to start loving our culture. Like all over from the jump. No matter. If you don't understand it, doesn't matter. We made it. Let's love it. Right. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out what it is, because I think he was abandoned by the rest of black folk who wasn't in hip hop, who would know better, and they didn't know, they didn't care to know.
That's right,
right. But the reality is, if they did, then he would have got paid, maybe not up front, but by now he would have had something over all these years. They'd be like, nah, this isn't right. Let's go handle this the right way. But the fact that you had so many people that was fighting against the genre of rap for so long. Like what did Keras once say? People think rap is for a joke. You know? A passing hope, something with a rope, a fading hope, right? So and that's exactly what we treated it as. We didn't think it had any sustainability.
That's true. Yeah.
But now that hip hop is worldwide, we're not talking about back, let's say, early 80s when you had a couple of minor labels and they were just helping or putting artists out to make money. Now it's global. It's all over the world, okay? Doesn't that, the legal system, they see it. They see that now. Am I right or wrong? They see that now.
Yeah, of course. Music, hip-hop is running, actually, it's so crazy, right? Rap actually makes more money than any other music.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Right?
Say that again.
Go ahead. Say it again.
Rap music generates more money than any other music. Right. But see how it's done, right? Do with the streaming and all that. They chop the money down where we don't necessarily get it, and they keep majority of the artist money from touring. Right. So we're not on the tour circuit like that. If you look at the Billboard, they got a box scores every month. Every week of the top grossing tours. We're never on that. Right. But that's where the money is, where that goes in your pocket. But the generation, the money being generated is coming from us. Right. Yeah. And I actually had a conversation with somebody about a month or two ago about the importance of rap. Right, period, as a genre. I said, this is the most important American music ever made. I said, it's even bigger and more important than jazz. And this is jazz. He's like, nah, you crazy out here. You know, jazz, we got this, that, that. I said, yeah, you're right. But the thing about rap, we have distinct language in every song, right? Because what advances a civilization? Language, right?
That's right.
Information, talking.
That's right.
Every rap record got the most distinct words, you know, in every record. Even like R&B repeat words all the time. Rap got a distinctive word.
It just keeps going.
Keep going like so much. So you're learning so much language in a rap song that you think about it. And that's why we're able to resonate across the world. Right? Because that's how you expand civilization. Language. Right? Jazz, you just music, which is great, but you're not talking in the sense where it's a feel, and how you feel a jazz record could be different from how you feel from a jazz record. So you're not connected. Y'all got different feelings. But if a rapper saying F the police or whatever, exactly what they said.
Then why do you think that corporate America was so afraid of it, wouldn't touch it? Now they want a piece of it.
Well, black unity, and they also control it now. So now they are on everything. I remember a few years ago, and I was in like Def Jam. Literally, there wasn't really too many black people working up in there, right? We in Def Jam, and I'm sitting there like, where the black people at? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
That's Motown. I mean, Motown. When Barry left Motown, all the black folks were gone. They said they wasn't other than Smokey, Stevie, and but like that. But everybody, when he sold it.
But even before that, Motown was getting kind of, because number one, when Motown was still in Detroit,
Yeah.
right? It had its own it was using independent distributors, right? To get the records down south, you know, and they were black owned, right? So they was getting those records broken in Mississippi, in Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, going door to door, like, right? But then when they moved to L.A., they got rid of the independent promoters and used the big ones. So a lot of black promoters were out of a job, right? Because now you didn't need them anymore, right? And then that's why you hear the music's a little different. The music that was coming out of Detroit, right, was more soulful than the music when they went to L.A. When to L.A., we got the Jackson 5 and all that, right? But in Detroit, you got the Marvin Gaye, you got the Temptations, you know what I'm saying? You got, right? So you got more corporate, and then that's what I'm saying. It was more... you know, I guess the corporations, white people it resonates more with that type of even the Temptations music changed when it got to LA. You know what I'm saying?
Bubblegum.
It wasn't. It really was. And they said it. They said it in the movie. What you want to do is piss off our fans? It's like, you gonna piss off our fans? They're not gonna get behind a bunch of sellouts. Not gonna happen. You know, you thinking about it from a business standpoint. We're the ones out there on the stage. Are you gonna get hit with tomatoes? No. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get it with tomatoes, especially when you on that chitlin circuit. You come in there with some kind of watered down. Ain't gonna happen. No.
So and now in rap, we don't really have a there's no place to go that we could just really enjoy, right? There's no scene. There's no rap scene.
Yeah, we lost it. That's true. We
at least not in New York.
We lost that.
You know, you may have it in LA and maybe Atlanta.
Yes. We lost that.
We don't really have a rap scene anymore.
That's right.
Where it can kind of keep it alive and going.
That's right. We dropped that ball, Rev and I. We went to. I mean, when you were saying about the big venues and the shows. We went to see Stetsasonic, Houdini, Eric B. and Rakim, Boogie Down Productions, and LL. You had 5 or 6 artists on that show. And I'm telling you, that show was Madison Square Garden. That was a show. And you used to see shows like that, but you don't see them anymore. You don't see a lineup like that.
Right.
You know, that's when we was hungry for it. We was hungry for
it. But it resonated too, because they was actually spitting lyrics and bars.
They
now,
were. Yes, they were.
They say it,
yes, they were.
I don't know what it is.
Yes, they were.
You know?
By the time, what LL tell you, by the time LL got on the stage, everybody was tired. Because, I'm sorry, the artists before him ripped it. They ripped the stage. Now you're talking about the powerhouse and all that. I look at those things, and the people are just standing around. You might see a few people, but they're not. They don't look like they're really enjoying themselves. They really don't, and we lost that. This area, we lost it. You know, and it's sad. It really is sad. You know.
Yeah, I don't know who to blame. Is it us? Not. I don't know, because it's like, I don't know. We don't really have the interaction anymore. Everything is on the phones and things, so you're not really. In front of anybody, you know?
Right. Well, like, all right, so locally we got like the brewery with Awesome 2 doing their little thing like that.
Shout out to Awesome 2.
Awesome 2.
Yeah. They shout out to my brothers.
Right. You got the thing every year that they do at Katona Park. You know, so you got little people who still love the culture, still trying to do things. So it's not as much, like you said, back in the day, but there are little, you know, little events that's going on to try to keep it, you know what I mean?
That's our generation. We need the next generation to do that, right? Of course, we're going to be out there loving it. Right now, all I do is listen to, like, I got the Nas album, you know, shout out to Nas that I've been popping in my car, the new joint, and the De La Soul. But majority of my stuff is old school stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So we old school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the younger people need to, like, get maybe not listen to our stuff, but have something that's dope now.
That's dope now.
And rock it out on it.
But and so when you say that, you know, I have to think back to the whole, you know, Kendrick Drake, you know, that whole battle, or whatever they were calling it. Like, what was that? Like, is that got that was a lot of energy about what though? Like, I'm just saying from our generation, like what
it
you
was
know,
a whole bunch of.
I mean, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to be critical of it because that's what it is now. That had the whole world going. You know, like we talking about maybe is it dead or whatever, but that had the whole world talking about hip hop or that battle for a summer or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying like it's just different. Like you know, and that what's the age group that's kind of.
But that was to me corporate motivated too.
That's what I don't think it really was. That was a whole bunch of corporate. Because they said that was just to blow up music. You know, it's like okay, we gonna put they both hot.
Off of that,
you know,
Kendrick came out with a new album, right?
Around
that time.
Yeah, Drake Kendrick came out. Drake did
too. Yeah, maybe that's like you said. That seemed like that's what
it was a corporate thing.
You
know, they did that with 50 and Ja. 50 and Ja, you know, that got a little personal, but the thing is, they was trying to blow that up, 50 and Ja. And then, you know, it can go back to either KRS and Shan, you know. If they could figure out a way to generate revenue or blow this thing up,
but I think that was more personal with them artists. Like you talking about KRS and
Shan.
I think that was. I don't think
Kendrick
that was,
and Drake got pretty personal.
That's what I'm saying. They got personal, but they was talking about lawyers in that.
That's personal. To me, it just looked like not saying Kendrick and them was like faking it and nothing like that. It just seemed like it was hyped up on the corporate level. Whereas the Shan and KRS One, and I remember KRS One had said this. You know, he said that there's a whole story about how they used the beat. The Bridge Is Over,
Over, yes.
So you know how it was really Marley Marl who actually did the beat on that.
Did the beat.
But he left it in the studio, right? And was it Kool Keith got the beat and gave it to KRS One. And they used that beat. His beat to diss his crew because he said he said because Mr. Magic was like dissing the hell out of him, right? So that was personal,
that was personal.
That was personal.
You know, I think this could have been personal too with Drake and them, but then it just got amped up because of the corporate folks. It got nothing to do with anything that was going on.
Back in the day, we had real battles that was more or less on tapes. Like the famous tape with Kumo D and Busy.
You ain't nothing, man. If you was money, man, you be counterfeit.
But you want to know something? Let me tell you this. Let me say this real quick. That battle, you know, at that time, we loved it. It was like, yo, that's a battle. That's about he did this, he did that. If you think about it now, Busy B was never a lyrical MC. He never was. He was a crowd motivator. He was a crowd motivator. Mo D didn't like the fact that Busy would come in and the crowd would go crazy because he was a crowd motivator. You went at him not knowing. You didn't go after Melly Mel. You didn't go after Grandmaster Caz. Because now you're talking about your lyrics against his. You're talking, and everybody was like, yo, did you hear what Mo D went at him? The band didn't even respond. He didn't respond. You know, he's not that. He wasn't about a crowd. He's just a crowd motivator. So I was like, what do you mean a battle? He never responded. You know, he didn't even think about it. You know, Mo D went at him. The man didn't care. You know, if that had been Melly Mel, wouldn't have gone down like that. If it had been Grandmaster Caz, it wouldn't have gone down like that because all three of them had lyrics.
But remember Graffiti Rock?
Yes.
Right? And they said that Kumo D couldn't go after Run and DMC at the time. It was like, we're going to make this battle, but it's going to be like a phony battle. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Kumo D back then knew he was the guy. No matter who was out. Of course, you're not going to go after Melly Mel because he was like God, right? At the time, you got to like hands down.
Caz neither. He's probably the most underrated lyricist. But back in the day, he'll get you. And that's why you never heard him or Mo or Mel go at each other because they were that good.
That's right.
Anybody else, you know, you're going to get what you get. But those three, no.
That's right.
You're not going to do that. You're going to try to step to one of them. You liable.
And I think we need to bring the perspective back too, because in our culture, it's always got to be one or the other. We can't have five great or 8th grade, 10th grade, all at once. It's either this one or this one. Either, you know, Rakim, you know what I'm saying? Or Jay-Z or Biggie or, you know,
Rakim
LeBron or Jordan. You know, Muhammad Ali or Tyson. We can't have all of them together. We just don't. We have to figure, they make us feel like we have to pick a side. And we got to stop doing that. We got to stop picking sides and love all of these artists out here doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us got something to bring to the table. And we could have been great simultaneously all together.
But here's the thing. You sitting in the barbershop. Got a conversation going on. You got
keep it in the bar, right?
Yeah. You know where I'm going with this. You in the barbershop and you got 5 different cats your age and one KRS, one Kane, Coogee Rap, Rakim. That conversation, you can't stop that.
You can't. No, you
can't.
can't.
Everybody going, LeBron Jordan. Oh, that could go for months, years. Okay, you can go, and you know, Charles Barkley said, I think this is ridiculous, this is stupid. Bruh, it's conversation. Okay? You don't hear that nowhere else. You're going to hear it in hip-hop, and you're probably going to, you know, you're going to hear it in sports. You know?
I think you got to experience it, though, because if you experience them, it's hard to compare, right? Because Rakim, obviously, when he came out, changed the game. Like, who is this dude?
Yes,
I remember vividly when I first heard. I came in the door. I'm on my way to New York. I'm in the backseat of a car, and I'm coming across the bridge. I'm like, who is this? Who is this?
Yo,
talk. But then you got KRS-One, and you got, when he come out, he's like telling people, Roxanne, should I tell you all this good for steady? You know, it was going crazy. Like everyone had their level that they were good in that zone. So it's hard to compare them.
They asked, if you don't mind, they asked Big Daddy Kane why the verses between him and Rakim. That's what they wanted. They didn't want him. He wanted KRS. They wanted the people. The crowd, I mean, everybody wanted him and Rock. And that could have happened, if you remember. Okay? Someone told Kane that Rakim was going at him, that Rock said something about 7, you know, I put 7 MCs with him in the line, that one. No, he said a line in his song, and one of Rakim's people went back and said, yo, Kane going at you. Kane going at you. Let the rhythm hit him.
Oh yeah.
That was meant for Kane.
Oh wow.
But Kane, Eric B's brother and Rakim's people, Eric B's brother and Kane's people got on the phone. They got Kane and Rakim on the phone. Kane said, yo, that wasn't meant for you. Now Rakim said to this day, he said he could have been lying. He said, but he had that whole verse written for Kane. Kane always said Rakim ain't no battle rapper, but Kane had verses written in Let the Rhythm Hit Him. And he said he talked to me though. We pounded, we dapped it up. He said I pulled it. He didn't have to because he said he was ready.
That's right. Yeah,
he was ready to drop 16 on Let the Rhythm Hit Him.
All right. Yeah, no doubt. But that's part of the whole creativity of the game, man. You know what I mean? Like, you know, one cat could get you today, but the thing is, you can sit down and take care to come back the next day. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say who's the greatest because you're always gonna with every day, with every new dawn, you can come with something else.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
Yeah. So with that, yo, I just want to say, I want to thank these brothers, man, for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Yo, I know y'all learned something here today. You know what I mean? And look, we were drinking water. We were drinking water, y'all.
Right. Yeah. Facts. We don't want to talk about the last time. We were drinking water that time. We'll tell y'all about the last time. we got water, Jack. Believe that. But we hope that all that's supporting and watching this content, that You listen to what these brothers were saying. If you're getting into the business, hear me out.
Or just love the business.
Or you love the business. Whatever part you get into. Okay? Listen. And if you didn't hit the first time, rewind it back. You can rewind it back and say, wait a minute, what did he say? Rewind it back and take what he's saying to heart. And when you walk in that office or wherever you go, you take that, say, yo, that's what that brother, that's what Duane said, that's what they said. You know, they did say that. I'm going to remember that. And I'm going to take that to the table.
Well, I got a question for him. So if people want to get at you and try to talk to you for the younger generation, how can they contact you? What's your socials and everything?
Well, I'm on Instagram, JPGESQ on Instagram, the GilmoreLawGroup.com website, and find me there.
Okay. My Instagram is dlegal at Instagram. My website is www.d-harley.pc.com. You can phone number is 212-683-8464. That's the office number. You can my email would be d-harley@d-harley-pc.com.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
Yo,
appreciate these brothers, man, for coming in and dropping that knowledge for us. We appreciate that. So, yo, as always, we want to say, yo, thank y'all for watching. Please like, subscribe,
share.
Right. You know what I mean?
He get caught on that. Share. He get caught on that word.
Please like, subscribe. You know what I mean?
And tell your friends, share this content.
Yes.
And tell your friends, you know how we do this. Lost Underground for life. We thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Until next time.
Peace, love, and hip hop.
Peace, love, and hip hop.
Peace.
Yeah. We gotta do this one for hip hop. Always keeping the culture alive.